Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the demo for Lab 5, creating vectors. You can see that I've already downloaded the sample files, and I've put them on my drive in my GIS folder, created a new folder for Lab 5. What we have this week for sample data is just JPEG images of scanned soil maps. So that's going to be kind of what you work with here. I'm going to come over and just create my new project folder or project file as well, sticking it again on my drive in the GIS folder, and then in that Lab 5 creating vectors file that I created. I'm going to give it a name of just Lab 5. Hit OK. It'll create the folder. I have a couple of things up over here, but what you really want to be able to have on this side, we need to start off with is the catalog pane. Catalog view. If you don't have it up over here, you can go to catalog, or sorry, to view, and then it's catalog view. That'll bring it up on the side. And then we're going to go in through folders, Lab 5, creating vectors, and just bring over that soils map. Yours may end up creating pyramids and things. May take a second to render. And you can see that it is just the scanned soil map of the sort of area around campus. So if you remember from the lecture, the next thing we have to do is create the shape files to hold our new vector data. We do that in the catalog tab as well. We're going to go to the folder name here. So we're in folders, Lab 5, creating vectors. Right click and go to new shapefile. Alternatively, if you wanted to create this inside of the database, you would just click on the database name and then go to new feature class. But we're going to stick with shapefile. So we're going to go to new shapefile. It's saying that it's going to put it in the folder. We're going to call this one to start off with ND soils. We want it to be a type of polygon. We want to have, we don't want any of these other things. The only other thing we really need to set is the coordinate system. You've got two options here. One, we've already brought in this JPEG, which is georeferenced and has the right coordinate system. So if it already has the right coordinate system, there's a drop down that'll just let you choose that layer. Alternatively, if you don't have that in or something, and you're creating it before that, we'd go into select coordinate system. Mine is favorited here, but if yours isn't, it's projected UTM WGS 1984 Northern Hemisphere, and then zone 16 north. Okay. So one thing I did forget as well, I don't remember if this is absolutely vital, but I'm going to add .shp here just so that it knows to export it as a shapefile. Hit run. And it's going to create that new blank shapefile over here called ND soils. The other next step that I want to do is I'm going to create a extent file, just a file, like a file that's just the border of this map, so I can snap to it and have it just as a nice boundary. If you still have this create feature class tool, geoprocessing tool up, you can just change the output name here and do ND extent .shp, leave everything else the same and just hit run again. Saves a couple steps there. Okay, so now I have my ND extent, my ND soils. These are both totally blank at the moment. I do want to, within my soils, I'm going to open the attribute table because I want to make a field that's where I put these codes, these soil codes in. So you can see the sort of pattern on them. They're somewhere between like 3 and 5 letters long, usually with lowercase stuff in the middle and uppercase stuff on the edges. Be a little careful as you do these. There's some that have a capital I in them that looks like a lowercase L and things like that. If you make mistakes, it's not the biggest problem in the world, but it's better if you can avoid it. So to get to this, we're going to go right click on in the table of contents, go to attribute table. Like I said, you can see it's totally blank. And if I'm going to create a new field for it, it's field add right here. This brings up this fields viewer, and I've got like a new tab thing up at the top here. So I'm going to call this soil code. I want to change it from data type of long, which is numbers, to text. And then if you want, you can do this. It's not obligatory. I'm going to change this to be only 10 characters long. I don't think there's any more than 5, but that way we're not taking up extra space and it just looks a little cleaner. So we created this field. We haven't actually saved it yet. So we'd go up to save. Alternatively, you can just close the fields viewer tab down here and it'll save it as well. It'll ask you if you want to save it. Okay, so we're ready to start editing now. And the first thing we're going to do is create that extent, that border of just everything on there. I'm going to close my attribute table just so I have a bigger viewer here. And to do this, I'm going to choose it over here. And then I'm just going to go to this edit tab. As long as I have vector data chosen, actually, as long as I have anything chosen, I have an edit tab up there. We haven't really used that yet, but this is going to be where I'm editing stuff. And the easiest way to get going is if I just choose create right here. It's going to tell me these templates. It's basically where I select what thing I'm editing. So I'm going to start with ND extent. I'm going to click right there. And because this is just a rectangle, I've got multiple options here. I've got polygons, I've got auto-completing polygons. These are the two we're going to use the most of the soils. I've got things where I can do like a right angle polygon, or where I can do circles or squares or rectangles and ellipses and some of these like kind of free handy things as well. What I'm going to do is choose rectangle right here. And what I want to do is just go find one of the corners. When you're editing, you can, if you click and hold the center mouse button, it'll let you pan. That'll save you a lot of time. So I'm going to find the corner down here. I believe I already had this set up so that it was doing this horizontal grid thing. If yours is not doing that, then choose that. If it's not looking like a square like mine is. Okay. And then the next thing I want to do, yeah, so mine was just defaulted to it. Is I'm going to go, again, I can use my center mouse button to pan myself around. I'm going to go find the other corner, and I'm just going to click on that one. So now I've created within my extent a single polygon that is the extent. If I open the attribute table, you can see that there's a record in there now. If for some reason you clicked multiple times and created something, you can just choose here and then press the delete key, and it'll delete it. I'm not going to do that because then I would delete it. Right now, this isn't saved permanently. So if your map crashes, you would lose it. So you do want to occasionally hit the save button up here. And I also want to, just because I can't see through this thing, I want to change it. So I'm going to click over here. And then that was just bringing up my symbology. I can either click on black outline here, or I can go over to properties and it'll let me set them individually. So I would take the inner color, turn it off, the outer color, and make it, I don't know, a nice red border. Just hit apply. So now I have that all ready to go. I'm going to clear my selection because there's one other thing I'm going to do, and close the attribute table so I can see everything. So now that I've set that, I want to be able to snap to it, but I don't want to be able to do anything else with it. I don't want to edit it or anything. So I'm going to come up to my table of contents here, and I'm going to go from list by drawing order. I'm going to go over to list by selection. What this is basically saying is the things I can select, and I'm going to turn off ND extent. What that means is now I can't select that thing. It's not possible for me to select that thing. It'll save you a lot of steps later on, a lot of problems later on. And then I'm just going to go over to list by drawing order. And I'm going to switch over to soils. So I was previously on ND extent. I'm going to switch over to soils here. And I'm going to do just a kind of normal polygon right here. I'm going to come just down to somewhere in a corner here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the edge. So my snapping is not currently on. I do want to go ahead and do that so that I can snap it. I'm going to go back onto the editing toolbar, and then there should be on my editing. toolbar. I've got snapping right here. Sorry, I was looking right at it. And I've got the ability to sort of set what's happening. Right now it's off, so I'm going to turn on snapping. And if I'm on create, now when I get close to that edge, it jumps right to it. That's what I want. So I'm just going to come to the corners, and you can see I can start seeing my polygon. Probably want to change my snapping so it's not going to itself. So this is what I'm choosing here. So polyline, polygon. Can also just turn it off if I wanted to as I go, because I don't want it to go back to the existing one that was on there. All right, so once I've gotten my polygon, I'm just going to double click. Now I have another problem, which is I can't see through it to see what my soil code is. So I probably want to change that as well. Got a couple options as far as that part goes. You could just make it transparent. I sometimes like to just go find one of the ones that you can see through anyway, like an orchard or something. Well, not the orchard, I guess. Some of these you can see through. Some of them have a white background on them. Some of these hashed ones could be useful, perhaps, because then you can see through it and know that that's a capital U, lowercase k, lowercase x, a. You could also just set it as partially transparent if you needed to. So you have a couple different ways to edit the attributes here. There's this attributes thing right here that'll bring up whatever is selected. It'll bring up its attributes. You could just enter in the soil code over here. Sorry, for some reason it's really little, but that's the box you're going to hit. So you could do U, K, X, A. I do not know why it's giving me such a tiny area to do there. But it is. Alternatively, I could just have the attribute table open as well. Every once in a while, the attribute table will not update as quickly, but it's up to you, however you want to do it. Okay, so I've created one feature. I'm just going to come back to my creating features tab here. And if you remember from when I talked before, you really only create one feature once. Everything else we're going to do auto completing on. I just turned my snapping back on. So I'm going to use this autocomplete polygon tool right here. And when I do an autocomplete, I don't want to re-click all the way along here. So I'm just going to come to one. And I'm going to zoom back out. Okay, I just made a mistake. I can either hit Control Z and undo it, or I can right click and it'll let me delete the last thing I did. There's one in there. Sorry, my mouse is not functioning particularly well at the moment. So again, made a mistake. Right click. You can delete the last one if you needed to. But I'm just going to hit Control Z and undo it. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to come kind of generally. I'm just going to avoid that. I'm going to do that the other one later. So what I'm going to do instead is come up like this. So you see it's pulling it out like that, even though I'm on an autocomplete. It's still going to do it for me. It just isn't going to duplicate the edge. And I'm just going to kind of come gently and quickly around here, turning off my snapping because it's frustrating while I'm trying to do it. And then I'm just going to pretend that that goes like that. I can always merge that back on later. I'll show what that looks like in a little while. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a part that then comes back down here. Turn my snapping back on just so I hit the edge real well. So I didn't actually click inside. I didn't duplicate that line at all. And now when I double click, it does that for me. It does the outside part right there for me. So I have a new one that is that giant green thing right there, which we just have to find the name for it. It is UGVA. So you are going to probably use the autocomplete more than anything else, as you just sort of build yourself out more and more parts of it. So if we come over here, I created this one little piece right here. I could do, if I wanted to do this other UEW right here, I can autocomplete and kind of come clicking on the thing, turning off my snapping, or I can go inside of it. Either way is fine. And then as I sort of come back around, just click back inside of the other thing and it fills it in for me there. And UEWA. So a couple other things that you'll want to do, things that the like skills that you want to have beyond just the autocomplete. So I'm just gonna do one more just so you sort of see. So if I start inside of it, come outside, come back around here. You don't have to be as careful as I'm being. And then I'm just again, this is just a really, really big one. So I'm gonna show you how to do things in pieces as well. I'm gonna go back in here. So I did capture that one in there as well. I'm gonna show you how to cut things in a second. But what happens in this case where I have two pieces that are the same soil code, I want to merge those together. I use my select tool and hold down shift. So I clicked one and hold down shift, click both of them. So I have them both selected. You can see there's two things selected in the attribute table over here. Then I'm going to go ahead and go up to the tools in here. It may show up right here. It might not. If it doesn't, just go to the drop down because the tool that we're looking for is merge. It's going to show me that I have something selected. It's in the ND lawyers thing. It's going to ask me which one I want to use. Well, I already entered the code for this one, so I want to use that one. That's going to preserve all of the attributes. And I just hit merge, and they join together like that. So if you have to do things in pieces, that's kind of how you build them back out. The other thing I want to show y'all is what to do when you need to cut something, because this is pretty common as well. You're going to use this split tool right here. So you're splitting a polygon by drawing a line on it. So it says the first thing I have to do is select something. So I'm going to select the feature I want to use. And then when I choose the split tool, I'm going to cut this piece out right here by kind of coming from the outside of the thing, clicking up and around on it. And you see it's cut it out there for me. The one thing it does do that you need to be a little careful about, though, it didn't change obviously it kept the attributes from the big one. So I just need to make sure I change that to be UGAA instead of UGVA. Now, the other thing that happens, though, is sometimes you have a total island one like this. So again, I've got my split tool up. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to split. If you have snapping on, you can come all the way back around, but there's a trick to doing this that I think is a little bit easier. The cutting isn't going to work if you have things in like, if it's just a line, it's not going to cut. It has to go all the way through something to figure out which direction to go. So if you have this set up like this, what you'd want to do is I always take one way out and then come in like this. And then I'll come around it. And then I just do this so I'm sure that they cross. I usually call this bunny ears. So you basically can come in here and then cross them right there. And when you double click, all that stuff that's outside of there, it's not enclosed, so it gets rid of it. And then you would just figure out which one is the little one, and just change that to UGVC. Okay, so that's basically it. You would then, kind of go back to creating features, work on your autocompletes. There are some of these other things that you can do, which you'll trace like another feature, or if you were auto-completing by freehand. Some people are good at this. I am not, where you just click once and then you're just like following your mouse. So there are some folks in various classes that have been really, really good at that. So if you want to do the freehand, you can. You're just not clicking. But otherwise, go ahead and finish off as the whole thing. I would say if you're not, it does like the scale that you're zoomed in on is going to control kind of how hard this is. So if your scale is like really, really far out, it's going to take you no time and it's going to look really, really bad. I would say you're probably don't be in past like 1 to 6,000 probably. I would say 1 to 8 is probably the right scale to be zoomed at. So, or even 1 to 10 is probably fine. 1 to 10,000, that is. So you'd be like, oops, I did 1 to 1,000. So if you're zoomed in about like that, that's about what I want. This will not reward you if you are very, very like precise about stuff. You'll just take a huge amount of time. But do try to make sure it's all in place. And then when you're finished, you'll just change the symbology to be your soil codes and give me a few screenshots of things. I mean, you should be good to go.